In if we turn to Deuteronomy 18:15, Moses was considered to be the great prophet. And like we talked about a little bit ago, this is the scripture. It says, the Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from the midst of your brethren. To him you should listen, according to all you desire of the Lord. So, Moses, we know that Moses is pointing to Yeshua. Moses, when he speaks this, the prophet who will come up, who will rise from among your brethren, he's alluding to the coming Messiah. And we also know that Elijah was the forerunner of the Messiah, or the spirit of Elijah would be the forerunner of the Messiah, which we'll look at here in a minute. In John chapter 5, verses 45 and 47, do not think I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, whom you trust. For if you believe Moses, if you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? So here Yeshua is taking on Moses prophesied about me. The prophecy of one will come from among your brethren who is like me. Moses was alluding to Yeshua, and here Yeshua is receiving that. But he's also saying, I'm not the one who's going to convict you. Moses will. You may ask how Moses will do that. Moses will do that through his Torah. Moses wrote the Torah for people to abide by. Yeshua doesn't have to lay out the judgments. The Torah does that for him. If you abide in the Torah, then you're good. If you haven't abided in the Torah, then Moses, through his Torah, will accuse you. We also know that Yeshua was a man of humility, known throughout all of Israel as a prophet. And we know very well that he put the people above his own life. With John the Baptist, if we look at Luke chapter 1, which Zechariah, his father, is in the temple offering incense. And I think rabbis taught on that here recently, that this gives all the information to see when Yeshua and John are both born based upon his lineage. But John, based upon that, in chapter 1 verse 5, it says that there in the days of Herod, and the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the division of Abiah, and his wife, a daughter of Aaron. So we have John, who is on both sides of his family. The division of Abiah, which Abiah is a direct descendant of Eleazar through Phinehas to Aaron as the high priest. So this direct line would come right down to John being completely a pure bloodline, and by all rights, one who could be chosen to be high priest. And John had a different calling, and his father, just a few verses later, prophesies of what his son's calling would be. And it says, starting in verse 76 of chapter 1, "And you, child, will be called to be a prophet of the highest, for you will go before the face of the Lord to prepare his way, to give knowledge of salvation to his people by the remission of their sins, through the tender mercies of our God, with which the day spring on high has visited us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and a shadow of death, to guide our feet to the way of peace. That was John's calling. His father prophesied it over him after he was named. John was a leader of people, and he was leading people to the Messiah. Now, if we look into history, we see a group of people called the Essenes. The Essenes were cave dwellers. They lived in caves. They had left the norm of society. They took a vow of poverty. They gave up any wealth that they have, and they lived in a place called Qumran. And in actuality, they started living in Qumran in 200 BCE, which was just after the Maccabean era, or just during the Maccabean era. They were known for daily mikvahs. They would wash 3 or 4 times daily. They were known for foot washing. John, there's a cave in Jerusalem, or just outside of Jerusalem, that they believe was the cave of John the Baptist. And it was an area in this cave where the stone had been hewn out in the shape of a foot. And the foot channeled down into a mikveh, which was fed by a spring. And John was well known for his baptism and washing the feet of his people. He was a very, very humble man. And in Luke 3:16, John says that one is coming who will baptize you in water and fire. Him I'm not even worthy to take off his sandal. Now, knowing this information about John with the foot washing would help us understand why he referred to not taking off his sandal. I'm not even worthy to wash his feet, which would then again answer the question why John responded to Yeshua the way he did in the Jordan River. When Yeshua came to him, he said, "Shouldn't you be the one who's baptizing me?" John had thought all along he would prepare the way, but in all, he would then subside his leadership to the Messiah and himself follow the Messiah. John was the forerunner, being the one who was given the spirit of Elijah. After the victory on Mount Carmel, we've talked about that Elijah became the leader of the 100 prophets. John became the leader of the Essenes in Qumran. Although the Essenes did have time to dig the caves, it is not believed that the Essenes dug out those caves. Those caves were already there. And it's believed by myself and others that I've read their work that the caves were actually carved out by the 100 prophets that Elijah was the leader of. So you've got the group that Elijah is leading, and John the Baptist, who has the spirit of Elijah upon him, leading a similar group of people in the same caves, in the same area, probably doing similar work.